Yo, what's happening? Welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and I really appreciate you making me a part of your day. By the way, I think that's my intro from now on. I've got it figured out. I'm digging it, so I'm rolling with that. Today's episode, we've got a lot of news to catch up on. The past 3 episodes were the Davy Jones interview portions. It was what we called a saga. Upwards of 6.5 hours of interviews with Davey. So I hope you enjoyed those. They were super long episodes, super interesting. They're actually the most downloaded episodes, so I think people enjoyed it. But it's funny, when I first started the podcast, I came out right away and said, these will not be more than 30 to 45 minutes. And I broke that pretty quickly. But I think people are okay with it. You know, I'm not getting these out too often, maybe every other week, once a month is really my goal. So I think it's okay if you got to spread it out. I hope people are kind of digging that format. Needless to say, there wasn't a bunch of time at the beginning of those to really get us caught up how I'd like to do. So today's episode is going to be dedicated really to what all has been happening in Blink-182 and side band land in the past month or two. So we've got some stuff we need to discuss. First and foremost, for those of you who follow me at Poppin' Curbs, you probably saw this a month and a half ago, and it's something that I totally wanted to highlight because, for one, it's just so fucking cool of Matt Skiba, and for two, it was so fucking cool of the Blink-182 community to kind of rally behind Matt, myself, and all of us really to help the family of George Floyd. So when all of that was happening, Matt Skiba posted some shoes that he had painted on his Instagram. He posted a picture of them, and he said he was going to auction them off in his comments. Now, for those of you who know me in real life or from the podcast, you'll know I am all about giving back in any way I can. I love finding cool ways to do it, especially if I can tie that in with like a neat collectible or something like that. And so anyways, I pitched to Matt. I said, Matt, you know, would you be cool with doing a lyric sheet, and we'll use the proceeds to give to the family of George Floyd during this time? And lo and behold, he was so down with it. So, you know, we talked, we were trying to figure out which song would be the best song. We settled on Black Rain. Long story short, Matt hand wrote, in the journal that he wrote all of 9 in, by the way, hand wrote the lyrics, the full lyrics to the song Black Rain. It's awesome. He has great handwriting. He drew on it a little bit. He signed the top. He FedExed it to me right away, showed up at my house 2 or 3 days, along with a guitar pick and his badge from the California tour, which is just mind-blowing. So fucking cool. Literally one of the most insane pieces of Blink-182 memorabilia that I've ever seen, to be honest. And so he entrusted me to do something good with it. And so what I did was I asked that people make a $10 minimum donation to the official GoFundMe for the family of George Floyd. This was to assist with funeral costs, therapy, litigation, you know, stuff that they're going to need and unfortunately have to deal with. So when I did that, you know, we opened it up for 2 or 3 days. I was blown away by the amount of people who were totally down to support this, and it just meant the world to me. It was totally worth bringing up. Get this, we had 181 donors. We were so fucking close. I kept thinking 182 would pop in, but just absolutely blown away by that. We raised $2,881 for the family of George Floyd. Cannot thank you all enough for supporting myself and Matt on that. That was so fucking cool. My heart was full. And what we did was on my Instagram live, you know, everybody who donated, you got one entry, and I put it in a big spreadsheet, and we did an Instagram live, and together using a random number generator, we picked a winner. And so the winner, I shipped it off. She got it. She was incredibly grateful. And to me, it was just so fulfilling to do something just so rad. So I wanted to point that out. One, so thankful for Matt being rad enough to do that, and 2, thank you all for being a part of that. That was just so fucking cool. Along the lines of that, Mark came out the other day and he mentioned that together we had raised $4,754 for the Children's Hospital of LA. So one of the actually highlights of this whole quarantine and shitty year for me has been Mark's Twitch streams. He's done some really cool things on there with, just an acoustic guitar in his game room. He's been playing deep cuts. I mean, if you would have told me we'd hear Plus 44 songs live on a Twitch stream as Mark plays Nintendo, I mean, I would have told you were crazy, but it's been really cool. And one of the best parts about these is that right off the bat, he set up a way for people to donate directly in his stream, and all proceeds go to the Children's Hospital of LA. That's a cause that's very dear to his heart and his wife Sky's heart. So for those of you who follow Blink-182 online, one of the things we did, again, I wanted to find a way to give back, maybe do something cool with it. So we had a little contest I put together for a sticker. We wanted to create a Blink-182 online sticker, and we accepted entries. Lo and behold, we voted, and the winner, shout out Upsmuck, rad fellow, let us use his Mark Hoppus banana design. It's Mark as a banana holding a sign that says Blink-182 Online. Basically, we sold those $5 a pop, and all proceeds I donated in Mark's stream. So we were a part of that $4,754. So thank you all so much for taking part in that. That was just so fucking cool. Again, if you can do cool shit and help kids or people in need, especially when you can just tie that in with something cool, to me, it's just the most fulfilling thing in the world. And I feel like if you can do something to make a difference, you totally should. Why not? Along the lines of Mark's Twitch stream, one of the things that came up recently, I guess he's playing a game called Last of Us 2. I don't have time for video games anymore, so I don't even know what system that's on, honestly. But he's been playing this new game, and at one point in the game, I guess you can take control of this character who is strumming a little guitar, and you can kind of press a little button to play a particular chord. And a really funny point during one of his streams is he's strumming this guitar for this little AI character, and he starts strumming the chords to Damn It. And the funny part is he forgets the words to Damn It. So I'm going to insert this right here. This video is courtesy of @LizDynamite, who is the coolest. I'm going to put this in right here.
It's all right. Then tell me what you think about me. I won't try to argue, hold it against you. I know that you're leaving. You must have your reasons. Wait, how's the lyrics go? Must have your reasons. I know that you're leaving. You must have your reasons. What's the next line? Oh, yeah, that's right. The season is calling, and your pictures, they're falling down. Smash guitar.
Okay, we need a vaccine, folks. Mark is forgetting the words to Damn It live on Twitch. I just thought that was pretty funny. I wanted to throw that in there. Another thing that I forgot to mention that is going to be in this episode is I did a Q&A with Atom Willard, former AVA drummer. It was a written Q&A, and I've been meaning to put this in an episode for about 2 or 3 months now, and we've just been on such a roll with insane interviews and insight and rad stories that I haven't even been able to slip that in there, which is just insane. So at the end of this episode, I'm also going to read off the questions and answers from Adam. Adam's so fucking cool. He's such a rad dude. He now plays in Against Me. And I was actually listening to Empire the other day, and I really love Adam's drumming. So certainly in the AVA world, this is a special treat to hear some of the stuff that he answered for us, which is cool. All right, let's jump into Blink-182 news. So first and foremost, as Mark promised, he was working on getting Dogs Eating Dogs released on vinyl. We were waiting to see when that would happen. Lo and behold, popped up about a month ago. All of a sudden, everybody's hype. They had some affiliated merch with it. They had a dog bowl, a dog chain, which is kind of cute, a t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt. And then at the time, we thought from the teaser that maybe there was just going to be one press. There ended up being 3 different presses. So there was a marble one of sorts, a swirl numbered to 500. There was a white one out of 1,000, and there was a red one out of 1,000 as well. Myself, being a huge Blink vinyl collector, and just, I have a ton of vinyl of my favorite bands in general. So stoked for this. Set my alarm to remind me at the time it was going to happen. Counting it down. Palms are sweaty. It goes on sale. Instantly buy it. Instantly buy the other 2. And the reason that I kind of want to bring this up as well is this kind of started a bit of a madhouse between Blink fans. So the 1 out of 500 sold out pretty quickly. I mean, it was 2 or 3 minutes, and that's not surprising at all. The ones out of 1,000, I mean, they went up for sale. I think it was 10 a.m. my time. They were up for 25, 30 minutes, guys. Okay, that is a lot of time for a limited edition item to be up. So I understand that people are pissed that they missed out, and, it's a bummer. But I will say, this is extremely common in the vinyl world. 1. 2, it's extremely common for what is going to be a limited edition, pretty highly sought after item. I don't know if they thought it would sell out that fast, but I certainly could have told them it was going to sold out. I mean, everybody's been waiting for this for a while. So, right away, people start bitching like crazy that they missed out. And I see people yelling at Mark that, people got multiple copies and all of this stuff. Yeah, if you buy 20 copies to throw on eBay, then yeah, that sucks. That's really not cool. But the thing that pisses me off is the other day, people were asking, has yours shipped yet? I actually just got my red and white the other day. My marble, my black and white swirl still hasn't shipped. I don't know what's up with that. But the other day, somebody was asking, has anybody else's vinyl not shipped? And I said, well, my red and white one did, but my marble one has not. And right away, I get hit with 2 or 3 comments of people like, not fucking cool, dude, for you to buy multiples. People missed out on those. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not fucking cool? I just, spent my hard-earned money supporting my favorite band, one of my favorite EPs. I've been looking forward to this being released physically for 5 fucking years. I'm fully supporting Blink here. I'm not buying 20 copies to sell on eBay and profit from. If you collect vinyl, you know that the different variants are part of the game. It's part of what's enticing about these huge, nice physical releases. So do not shit on anybody who bought 3 copies, one of each variant. That's very common in the collectible world, in the vinyl world, in the vinyl game. So I don't understand people getting shitty about that. That's kind of fucked up, in my opinion. It'll probably be repressed at some point. Yeah, the resale stuff sucks. The prices will go down. That stuff fluctuates. This happens with every fucking limited edition and cool thing in the world. I collect a lot of stuff. It happens with baseball cards. It happens with tennis shoes. I mean, if you want to get a pair of Jordans, usually you got to sign up for a fucking virtual waiting line and pray you get picked that way. So, I mean, these were available for a good half an hour. So don't get too shitty at people who picked up a couple copies to enjoy on their own. It's really not that big of a deal. But the cool thing here is it did finally get released physically. Huge thank you to Mark for getting that done. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. One funny thing I noticed is when they had it online and actually in Apple Music, I need to see if it's fixed yet, but Pretty Little Girl was listed as Pretty Little Girls, plural, which is really weird. And when I was reading that on the cover art, like the mock cover art they had, and I went and looked in Apple Music, I was like, when the fuck did Pretty Little Girl become Pretty Little Girls? And I tweeted that to Mark and Blink, and what's funny is Mark said he was already working on it. It's definitely Pretty Little Girl. So it was corrected on the actual vinyl. It is correct, Pretty Little Girl. When I checked on Apple Music a week or so ago, it wasn't there yet, but hopefully that's going to get switched because that's kind of odd. Okay, next thing we need to get to in Blinkland is the song Quarantine. So we're going on 2 months ago at this point. Trav did an interview and just kind of subtly dropped in there, oh yeah, Blink has a new song called Quarantine. It'll be out in the next 2 weeks. So right away, everybody's hype. I'm hype. This is awesome. We can't wait to hear it. Well, 2 weeks has passed, 4 weeks has passed. We're definitely now a couple months into this. Still has not dropped. People are wondering where it is. Personally, I don't think that was the right time to release it. This is right when the George Floyd stuff was happening, protest happening and stuff like that. Not the best time to release stuff. Definitely need to give those movements all the time and voice and bandwidth you can for stuff that is way more important than just a random Blink song. So I don't know if that played a part in it, but it obviously has been delayed. Mark has answered in the past couple weeks saying essentially it's done, it's in the label's hands, hopefully it's coming soon. Travis, he again did an interview a week ago, a little bit more recently. He reiterated that it is coming soon, it's done, and he also said it will be a fan favorite. So really looking forward to the song Quarantine. It's just going to be such a cool treat to get anything new during this time where everybody's just stuck at home, and this whole fucking year is just so weird, to be honest. In that same interview, Trav had hinted at a potential collab EP dropping by the end of the summer. So one of the things that they supposedly had in the works really throughout 9 was some of these collabs. I know Pharrell was on there. They had a song with Juice WRLD. Travis actually said that song is about to come out. Mentioned that it might be on this Blink EP, as well as potentially Andrew Watt's solo project. So Andrew Watt is a producer. He actually helped them produce I Really Wish I Hated You. So it might end up being on his project as well. So it does seem like they've put together this collab EP. We didn't know what was going to come next, if it was going to be the collab EP or, I'm really hoping for 9 Deluxe to drop at some point. So it's going to be very interesting. But needless to say, it's really cool that Trav said that this EP potentially is going to drop by the end of summer, which isn't too long away. And Mark actually reiterated that, confirmed that during one of his Twitch streams, which is really cool. Another thing that Travis mentioned in that interview that kind of had some people riled up was he said there's an unreleased Boxcar Racer song, but they don't want to troll the fans with just one. And this is what always happens anytime these guys get interviewed. It drives me nuts. They ask about Tom every fucking time. I know it's what people want to hear, but my God, if I'm the PR guy or Mark, Travis, Skiba, before these interviews start, I say, no Tom questions, for the love of God. And I think what happens is, even if they say that, they're still going to fucking ask it, but it's just so annoying to me that they get hit with this all the time. It's been 5 years, for God's sake. And, everybody knows I'm a huge Tom fan, but at some point, just stop asking about it, get over it. It's annoying. Anyways, I don't know if this Boxcar song is a newer one or an old one, to be honest, but I don't know if it's going to end up seeing the light of day. A couple times in the past really year and a half, Tom has even posted a picture of like the BCR logo. He's teased at this. He comes out all the time and says how often he's talking with Travis. So I don't know, maybe it was something they put together. Maybe he sent an idea to Travis and he worked on it, or maybe it's just an old one, but regardless, I don't think it's going to see the light of day, unfortunately. Very briefly, I will mention there was a leak of sorts, and out of respect to the band, I do not post this stuff on Blink Online. I'm not going to play any of it. I would never post it on my YouTube, stuff like that. But I do completely understand, given the super nerds and level of fandom that we have for these guys, we want to hear this shit. And to be honest, gosh, I would pay a shit ton of money for a ton of demos from any era, especially, the newer stuff with Skiba. And so, needless to say, a leak, and I don't know how the fuck these happened, to be honest, somehow got out. It's clearly an unfinished song. For those of you who have heard it, heard the clip, it was referred to as Fallen. It's got a catchy fucking chorus. Anywho, the point that I wanted to bring up here is people were wondering, was this a California one? Was this a 9 one? It actually has a pretty heavy beat from Travis that kicks in. So I was thinking maybe this was at the point where, with 9, they had a lot of material, and then they kind of switched gears and started, building songs off of Travis's beats and such. So it actually kind of fit that mold to me. But needless to say, it's not coming out. Mark confirmed that really it was just an idea. It never got past the, here's an idea for a song stage. So it's out there. I'm not posting it, but gosh, the stuff that these guys throw away is just so much better than most people's shit that they release as singles. It's just crazy how catchy they can write songs and these hooks and everything. So, last thing in regards to Blink, they did release a song with an artist named Oliver Tree. I had never heard of Oliver. Since then, have listened to him. They had a bit of a remix come out of a song called Let Me Down. This was featuring Mark and Travis, featuring Blink. And, when I heard they kind of posted that this was going to be coming out, and I went and listened to the original. And this Oliver Tree dude, he's a bit of a character. He's got a bowl cut, he's rocking Jinkos. His album art is just hilarious. It's like, what a fucking boss. Like, I had never heard of this dude, and he's super popular, tons of followers and such. And I've listened to his album that came out. It's actually pretty catchy, but this Blink song, this Blink feature that came out, it's fucking awesome. I really enjoyed it. It's super, super catchy. And when Mark comes in, he has a line that he repeats: "You take me back to much better days, but those better days weren't good enough." Like, gosh, that's such a sick line. Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish you would have saved that for a real Blink song, like an actual Blink song. But yeah, it's a catchy little verse going on there, and I really dig it. And then I really like during the bridge, Mark comes in again, and he gives a nod to a Green Day song. He says, "On my phone, here we go," which of course is a reference surely to the Green Day song "On My Own, Here We Go." Durner. So I thought that was pretty cool. Trav crushes it as usual. So if you haven't heard that, check it out. That's the newest Blink stuff we have at the moment. Another cool thing in, sort of the Blink world, Mark world, friend of the podcast, David Stowe, Vann Watches. His company, Vann Watches, has collabed with Blink and Hi, My Name is Mark several times throughout the years. Really rad company. If you haven't listened to that interview, by the way, go back and listen to that. It's the David Stowe interview. He talks about the creation process of these watches. And so I wanted to mention a new Hi, My Name is Mark / Vann Watches collab dropped the other day. It was a ghost watch, has the little octopus. It's kind of clear with almost like a smoke filled octopus on it. It's really rad. It's sold out in 2 minutes. So super stoked for Vann, super stoked for Hi, My Name is Mark. Those always go fast. They're super rad. And what I love, being a Blink autograph collector, is Mark signed, I think, 25 of those, and I reposted some of them the other day. People were tagging him in us, which is awesome, but he signed them in hot pink right on the front of like a white casing, and it just looks fucking killer. So that was cool. I wanted to mention that. One more thing I wanted to mention along with, when we're talking about friends of the pod, Mr. T-Shirt, the former Blink-182 merchandise guy from 1996 through 2019. He is putting together a project, and essentially he's wanting to put together a book, a scrapbook of sorts. Really, that's a timeline of damn near every shirt he's made for all of these bands. And I told him that we, as the Blink community, would love to assist him with especially all of the stuff he needs for Blink. He also did Plus 44. He did Angels and Airwaves. He did Boxcar. He did some of Travis's stuff that was in Travis's merch store. So, point of this is, if you have Blink-182 shirts, we need good front and back pictures. And if you could send those to 182newspodcast@gmail.com, along with the name you would like to be credited as in this book with your photo, we would really appreciate it. We need, decent pictures. Just lay them out flat on the floor, maybe on top of a sheet or something, a nice rug. Don't just get a weird crumbled up angle. Spread it out nicely. And we need Blink official merchandise shirts. So not famous, not Hi, My Name is Mark, Atticus, stuff like that. Just official merch t-shirts. We need front and back pictures of any shirts you have from 1996 to 2019. And if you could email those to me, I will make sure Mr. T-Shirt gets those along with what you would like to be credited as. So great opportunity to assist him. He has been such a treat to Blink fans throughout the years with all of the rad merch and all of the rad collectibles. We talked with him at length in a previous episode about that, and I would love to help him out. And he also did Boxcar, Plus 44, and Angels and Airwaves. So if you have shirts of them, shoot those over as well. The more the merrier. I've got a ton so far and looking forward to any more we can get and help him out. I would love to do anything we can, and it's really just a cool thing to see your name in the book of, the Blink-182 merch dudes scrapbook of sorts, a bit of history there. So again, any t-shirt pictures, send them to 182newspodcast@gmail.com, front back, along with how you would like to be credited, whether it's your full name or your Instagram handle or whatever. It doesn't matter. It is all good. All right. Now we are going to switch gears to Angels and Airwaves. What's going on with Tom at this time? Obviously, for both bands, tours have been delayed. Potential albums, projects, stuff's kind of getting pushed back. Last thing we got from Angels and Airwaves was All That's Left Is Love, which was for a great cause. And everybody's wondering, Tom notoriously kind of takes his time on this stuff, which is fine. And we're kind of wondering, when is this album gonna drop? When's it coming out? So the good news is he has posted a couple teasers recently, and they are definitely in a studio. He's posted stuff with Alon crushing drums. We've gotten 2 or 3 clips. And so what I'm going to do is actually insert those clips here in case you missed them. And here we go.
So lost in the fire, can't get myself out. Someone's out there pulling at me, like a ghost, most definitely. Like having sex while on fire, no putting you out. Always out there biting my leash, but you do it so delicately. They don't. It's on the land if you're hungry. It's on the land when the door's been let down. A little kid at her building. She never ran cause she never really knew how. So up the walls coming with the man down. You're in the war but the enemy's inside now. The enemy is on the garden. So let the motherfucker know it's time to wind down.
Cool. So that was 2 different clips. The first one was kind of that more experimental sounding song, sounded really cool. The second one was a little bit more upbeat. That one in particular, Tom had mentioned in his comments, was Boxcar 2.0. I don't know if I heard the angst in there that I'm used to hearing in Boxcar, but regardless, that's cool to hear. Both of them sounded super catchy. I'm hyped for this Angels album. I don't know when the hell it's going to come, but I do think it's going to be cool. At this point, Tom has said it is 12 songs, which is good. So, before we were looking at around 10. Then the tours got canceled, and Tom has said in several of those Instagram Live things he was doing with some of the radio stations that really it's given him more time to pour into this album. He's really stoked for this album. It's obviously super cool to see Tom, halfway passionate about music. When he's into something, man. So I do think he is hype and into this album right now. I hope it's 12 songs. He was on a podcast recently where he reiterated that Rebel Girl was a single, Kiss and Tell was not, All That's Left Is Love was not. He talked about really the great dynamic he has with Alon. So Alon Rubin, he deserves a ton of credit. If you like the newer Angels and Airwaves stuff, Alon deserves a ton of credit for that, for really the experimentation that they're doing. He's an incredible musician. I think he brings a lot of that Nine Inch Nails vibe to it, which I really love. So he talked about the great dynamic and work relationship he has with Alon. Alon is a classically trained musician, prodigy really from a young age. But he mentioned how Alon is really, into the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. And he brought up how Aaron Rubin, who is Alon's brother, is such a great middleman for them two in particular, because Aaron, grew up in the same family with the same love for music, but also grew up loving punk. And so it's kind of that tug. There's that maybe Alon wants it this way, Tom wants it this way. And then you got Aaron in the middle who can really speak both of their languages and kind of bring it back to where, it needs to be. So I think in Angels and Airwaves land right now, they've got a really cool thing going on with Tom and Alon. Matt Rabano is an incredible bassist who's going to be doing work on this. And then David, I hope he has a bit of an impact jumping in, doing his thing with that when he has time away from his James Coffey ordeal. So I'm really stoked to hear this. I don't know when this is going to drop. Tom had mentioned potentially fall. Then he had mentioned that now we're looking like holidays. Maybe we'll get a song later this fall. I don't know why Rise Records, which is the record label they're signed to, I really don't see the reasoning in making this come out this year, to be honest, as much as that sucks. But I think you almost try to push it to next spring, if at all possible, and then pray to God the COVID situation is figured out and they can tour on top of it. So we're going to have to wait and see. Tom reiterated he thinks this is one of his best records he's ever done. He actually said top 2. I'm curious as to what his number 1 is. That'd be interesting. I don't know if it'll be top 2. When you get into the Blink stuff, I'm kind of biased over there. I think it might have a chance of being top 2 in Angels and Airwaves land, in my opinion, so we'll see how that goes. It's going to be interesting to see. By the way, I'm terribly sorry if you hear my goddamn chihuahuas bark throughout this. They're going fucking crazy upstairs, and I don't know what's happening, and I have a very limited amount of time to record this podcast. So I guess my chihuahuas, Timothy and Harold, would like to make an appearance on the pod. Sorry if they are barking in your ear. Okay. In regards to the stars, they launched season 2 of their TV show Unidentified on the History Channel, which is really cool. So that's a big deal. I mean, a lot of people shit on Tom for ditching Blink and trying to do his own thing. I mean, try to get a fucking show on the History Channel and let me know how that goes. That's a pretty big deal. Try to get the White House to take a meeting from you in regard to UFOs. That's a pretty hard thing. So, I mean, Tom's been doing work on this. It may not be the work that you want with Blink, but he's put his head down and he's really accomplishing some pretty cool shit. So, Unidentified Season 2 dropped. Unfortunately, I can't get it on YouTube TV or whatever. I'm going to have to try and catch up on it later. But Season 1 was really cool. This is basically, they interview people who have seen sightings or witnessed UFOs or unidentified flying objects and aerial phenomena or whatever they want to call it. And it's done right. It's really legit people. You're talking to Navy SEALs and Air Force veterans and stuff like that. You're not talking to somebody crazy in Kentucky who thinks they saw Bigfoot in their backyard. So it's pretty interesting, and I wish them all the best with this. I actually can't wait to watch season 2. I just got to figure out how to find the episodes. Another thing they dropped recently is a new book, Cathedrals of Glass, Valkyrie's Wakes. That is another one by author A.J. Hartley. So A.J. Hartley is doing the fictional Secret Machines books as well. The Chasing Shadows one and book 2 just came out not too long ago. AJ's a great author. I've read book 1 of this Cathedrals series. It's pretty interesting. It's basically, not to spoil too much, but a group of people are sent to basically float in outer space as punishment on this ship, and essentially they crash land on a planet and they find out they're not alone, and that's as far as I'll get into it. Very interesting. I'm stoked to read this. I don't have a ton of time to read stuff recently, man. You get old and you just don't have time for jack shit. So hopefully I can figure out a time to read that soon as well. So the last thing I wanted to mention, and then we're going to jump into the Atom Willard Q&A, is the band Neck Deep. They dropped a new album, All Distortions Are Intentional. So Neck Deep, they're from across the pond. They're from overseas. They toured with Blink last summer. They opened for Blink and Lil Wayne on the Enema of the State 20th anniversary shows. Pop punk band. They kick ass. I knew them from, they did a song with Mark Hoppus called December, which is great. You should totally check that out if you haven't, by the the way. But these dudes crushed it. And when I was at these shows last summer, there was actually one show where Wheezy bailed and they had to play an extended set. And I was actually super okay with that. And they crushed it. And so I've been really supporting those dudes and really pulling for them. And they dropped a new album. It's really dope. I enjoyed it. There's a song called Low Life that I really like. And so I just wanted to mention that. Those dudes kick ass. They look up to Blink. They were stoked to be on the tour last summer, and they played their hearts out. And so if you're bored looking for new music, it is pop punk, and it's really cool. So check that out. Neck Deep, new album. All distortions are intentional. They were supposed to play a show near me in November. It's not canceled yet, but it's probably going to be, which it just fucking sucks. At some point throughout every day, I almost kind of forget what's happening, and then I stop and thinking about it, and I'm like, God, this year is so fucked up. I mean, it's just crazy, and I don't know when or how this ends, to be honest. That's the scary part for me, but I guess we'll let people a lot smarter than me figure that out. So, okay, let's jump into, this is a written Q&A I did with Atom Willard. Contacted him a couple months back, asked if he would be down to answer some fan questions on Blink-182 Online. I gathered up some questions and we sent them his way. So I'm going to read these off to you along with his responses. And I really hope you enjoyed this. It was really cool of Adam to take time to, type these out to me. It was really cool. Okay, so these are a few questions I had sent to Adam, and I'm just going to read the questions and then obviously read his response, and maybe there's some stuff we can chat about just a little bit on these. Obviously, just felt it was newsworthy. I've just been trying to squeeze it in here. It's pretty cool. Adam was really with Angels and Airwaves from the beginning. We Don't Need to Whisper through Love 2. He played the drums on Love 2, and then Alon came in and actually toured it. There's no bad blood here. It was essentially just, Adam's a full-time musician and needed full-time gigs, and Angels and Airwaves really has always kind of been when Tom wants to do it or really, has time or wants to tour and do his thing. So it's not so much a full-time musician job that Adam sort of needed. So that's why they kind of had to split ways, and he had to go off and do his own thing. Obviously, it's worked out great, and, Tom didn't tour for 7 years, so this would have been inevitable at any point, really, in the Angels and Airwaves world, because Adam just has to make a living as a musician. You can't really do that if you're not playing any shows. So anyways, nice of Adam to answer some questions here. The first one that we wanted to ask him was, at what age did you start drumming? Who do you credit as getting you started? So Adam replied he was age 4, which is pretty crazy. That's pretty young. And he said his parents got him a kit for Christmas, and after he was banging on pots and shit around the house. So little young Atom Willard was smacking around on pots, and his parents finally said, all right, buddy, here's a legitimate drum set. Here you go. That's a pretty young age to start that. I've got a little one not too much younger than that, so it's pretty wild to think of him actually keeping a beat or getting into an instrument and not too much longer. So that's pretty wild. One thing I've found about a lot of really musicians and people who are successful in their fields and stuff like that is a lot of them have extremely supportive parents. I know Travis was that way. He talks all the time about, especially in his book, about how his mom was just making sure that he went to band practice and was getting lessons and stuff like that. So it's really cool, really inspirational to really see how these musicians got these instruments in front of them and how they started working on their craft at, such a young age in this instance. Number 2, how did you initially get involved with Angels and Airwaves? This one's pretty simple. Tom called him and said, hey, I'm starting a new band. Do you want to be in it? Pretty simple as that. I mean, at that point, Tom was on top of the world with Blink, just, 2004, late 2004, getting into 2005. We're talking Untitled glory days here when Blink comes to an end. And Tom wanted to start this new art project called Angels and Airwaves. And I guess he hit up Adam. And Adam had played with some rad bands before that. I mean, he was in the Offspring for quite a while. So, I mean, he had the credentials. So it was pretty cool. It was almost like a super group, really, to get started. Number 3. Favorite Angels and Airwaves memories. So this brought a smile to my face. He said, I've never laughed so hard or for so long than those times with Matt and David making the videos for Mod Life. So that was just so cool. It's such a great time where really they were interacting quite a bit with the fans, especially Matt, David, Adam. This is Matt Wachter, by the way, who formerly the bass player. He actually previously played bass in 30 Seconds to Mars with Jared Leto. And David Kennedy, of course, who is now back with Angels and Airwaves. He was with them for a while, sat out for the Dreamwalker as he kind of got his little coffee business going, it looked like. And David, he was in Boxcar Racers, so David's a cool fucking dude. But that's awesome that Adam's favorite memories of Angels and Airwaves in general are really just goofing around with those dudes on Mod Life. That's pretty cool. We asked him, do you stay in touch with Tom, David, and Matt? And he emphatically said yes. So that's good to hear. Again, I know there's no bad blood on this. Adam has mentioned before that, hell, he would even play with them again if the timing was right and they asked. So it is no bad blood. He left completely on his own terms. And there had to be an understanding there that, look, Tom, I got to play gigs and make money playing music here. So yeah, that's cool to hear that they do still keep in touch. This one was interesting. Favorite Angels and Airwaves song. Favorite Angels and Airwaves song to play live. And he says, I loved so many, you can't make me choose. And he lists specifically Call to Arms and Breathe and Flight of Apollo and ... So he loves playing a lot of these songs, and I love hearing him play a lot of these songs. When I go back and watch old videos, I love watching Adam drum. He just crushes it, and he puts a lot into it. This one cracks me up. Were there any wild Angels and Airwaves ideas that the band had to tell Tom no to? And first thing he says here, always. He wanted us to descend from the ceiling. So I just picture the Angels and Airwaves show kicking off, and all of a sudden they're lowered down, like dummies from the ceiling. That would be pretty crazy. Such a Tom idea, such a crazy thing to think of. This comes up a lot. During Love 2, did you get the vibe that the songs were beginning to sound too similar to previous songs? So a lot of the complaints that people have with kind of the Love era in general is that the songs are getting a little bit too repetitive. Tom is repeating himself. We're starting to hear the same stuff over and over. And really, Tom came out later and agreed with that, which is why they really took a drastic turn with the Dreamwalker. He brought in Alon, who he credits as really changing their sound and going about things a different way. So Tom is aware of that criticism as well and clearly acknowledged it and to an extent agreed with it. Interesting to hear Adam's perspective here. He says, we were working on that record at separate times, often not in the studio together. It was a different thing. So I guess, I take that in his mind that, there was no conscious thought in his head that, oh my gosh, we're making the same song over and over. It was recorded completely separate. Maybe it suffered from not being in the studio together on that one. Maybe not sure, but that was his answer on that one. Somebody wanted to know, Ketamine for Breakfast drum cover was awesome. Can we expect any new drum covers coming soon? And he said, yes, thank you. I should do more of those. So if you have seen any of his drum covers on YouTube, that is in response to one of those. This is a cool one. And this is something some people may not know, but he actually has a couple EPs out with Matt Skiba called The Hell. It was a little project that they had, literally just him and Matt Skiba, which, how wild is that? I mean, Adam played in a band with Tom, and Matt Skiba is now taking over for Tom. And at one point, they were in a little band together. I mean, I'm telling you, this little Blink universe and how they're all related and in each other's projects and throughout each other's lives, pop in, pop out. I mean, it's just fucking nuts. Anyways, that is a cool project. And he said he has a lot of songs for a third EP, but scheduling is hard. So this was a couple months ago. I don't know if COVID changed any of this. Maybe they've been in touch, but totally down to hear new stuff from Skiba and Adam. That'll be pretty cool. Difference in playing in Against Me versus Angels in Airwaves. This is an interesting one. So he says Angels was all about trying to recreate the records as closely as possible. Against Me is all about crowd to band interaction, and the level of that determines the direction of the shows. So that's an interesting dynamic. A lot of bands, perform and they want it to sound exactly like the record, whereas you have some bands who part of their gig is just the sloppiness of the live aspect and stuff like that. Blink used to really have a lot of that back in the day, not so much anymore, but from a professional musician standpoint, a lot of them, not me, I'm talking about their opinions, a lot of them want to sound as close to the record as they can. That's how it's meant to be heard and meant to sound. So interesting that Angels is all about that, whereas Against Me, they're kind of just playing to the crowd and they just kind of swing it from there. Along the lines of Against Me, somebody wanted to know if he could give any update on their new album. I'm not super familiar with his work in that or that band. I really need to check him out. I know a lot of people on the boards are super into them, and he said they're working on it now, which I guess is good news for them. And last but not least, and I always try to ask this of really anybody I get on, but advice for upcoming artists. And he says, don't be afraid to be inspired directly by someone or something. Just be sure what you make is unmistakably yours. So that is some good advice from the man himself, Atom Willard. Pretty cool. That actually reminds me of, I'm a big fan of the movie Halloween. It's my favorite movie of all time, bit of a horror nerd in regards to that. And it was originally done by a dude named John Carpenter. Not to go off on a weird tangent here, but it does somewhat tie in with his quote. But Rob Zombie redid this, several years back. Rob Zombie had his own. And I've actually met Rob Zombie. He's a really fucking cool dude. And we actually talked about Halloween. I didn't talk about his music. I didn't talk about anything else. I just asked him about Halloween. And one of the things that was so interesting to me is, Rob is tasked with recreating this iconic horror film. And he goes to meet John Carpenter to meet him and, get his blessing on it. And he tells a story about how he was terrified of what he was going to say, how he was going to be. And what I've always loved about this, and I think of this quote really all the time, is John Carpenter told him, make it yours. Why else would you be doing it? So that is just such great advice. Don't rip people off. Don't, you can be inspired by people, but do your own shit. That's part of what always drives me nuts about, covers are cool to an extent. And, but when I go to a bar and stuff, it's what sucks. And it's part of why I've never really wanted to play live anywhere. You go play a dinky little bar, like everybody just wants to hear covers. And to me, it's like, why are you even gonna just do that? Like, play your own shit. I'm much more interested in hearing somebody's own creation than, a little cover or their own recreation. So anyways, went off on a bit of a spiel there, but I thought that was really cool. Hope you enjoyed that from Adam. Really dope of him to do that. So that is going to wrap up today's episode of 182 News. We just had to get caught up on some stuff. So I've enjoyed this, just chatting with you, just me babbling for a while. And we got a couple more episodes already lined up interview-wise. One of the things I'm going to do coming up soon is I want to highlight some community members. So, myself running the Blink Online stuff and running the podcast and stuff, I know this shit takes a lot of time and it's not a lucrative business. And, throughout the social media stuff and just being a fan and seeing everybody on Reddit and all that good stuff, I've noticed some community members who really are going above and beyond and doing some really cool shit. And I thought it would be cool to talk to some of them. So I've got some plans to get some of them on to discuss, what they're doing with their little aspect of fandom. I think that may be interesting. So we'll look forward to those. In the meantime, everybody stay safe out there. If you don't mind, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. I really appreciate that. If you need to hit me up, I am at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram. I would love to hear from you. Definitely follow the at Blink182 online, Twitter and Instagram. That's where we're always posting the rad Blink shit. And so everybody take care. I will catch you next time. Peace.